the logo of a nurse. The logo of a nurse. Okay, let me look at the comments and be sure people can hear me very well. Okay, all right. I'm doing that already for the person taking the comments there. Okay, so let me go ahead. The logo we have here is the logo of a nurse. I'm not saying that all parents, as a mother, you must be a nurse, or you must be a teacher. No, everybody have their own profession. Everybody have their own calling. So it's not compulsory that you have to be a nurse or you have to have a particular profession as a mother. But you can, learn. Just like you say, lawyers know a little about everything. A mother should know a little. You don't have to know everything. The ones you don't know, you pay for it, or you look for how you are going to get it. Just have an idea. Why we use this symbol is to show that a mother is like an auxiliary nurse. You are the nurse when the nurse is not there. And so you have to cater for the personal hygiene and safety of your child. You have to take care of the medications of your child and the immunization of your child. And these are the basic things we are going to be looking at. If you look at this symbol very well, you can see that the hand there is forming a heart shape and is covering a family. The mother is the one protecting the family. The mother is the lifeguard there that is directing the health of the family. The health of your family is dependent on you, on what you do or what you don't do. So you as a mother have to be, let me use the word diligent. That was the word I used last week. Diligent. You have to be diligent. Diligence is the word here to ensure that your family is well protected. So that hand there is the hand of a mother, protecting everybody. The father, the mother, and the children. And the heart, the symbol also symbolizes, that hand, the shape of that hand symbolizes the heart of the family. What is the condition of your family, the health of your family? How is it? How is their heart? When you say the health of someone, they are looking at the heart, because if there is no heart, the person is no more alive. If the person is not breathing, the heart is not beating, the person is no more alive. So these are the key areas we are going to be looking at today. I pray that time will permit us. I will be as fast as possible and as slow as possible so that we also understand everything that we need to discuss. We are starting with personal hygiene and safety. That was where we stopped last week. And I said we are going to stop there because for basic child care, that is where it stopped. But now, basic health care, personal hygiene and safety continues. What are the key things in personal hygiene? Cutting of nails for children. Yes, it's very key. Washing of hands. We have talked about it last week. We demonstrated how to wash our hands. For those of you that was not here last week, we looked at bathing children regularly. Very important. Bathing children regularly is very important. Wearing of clean clothes, we emphasize that, and we said the reason why they have to wear clean clothes and you have to change their clothes during the day, depending on the age, and when they want to sleep also, depending on the age. And that for babies, you don't have to see the dirt before you know the clothes is dirty. There are germs there, so you need to change the child around 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And also the weather might change, so you have to change. A baby cannot wear one clothes from morning till night. Brushing of teeth twice a day, very important, and washing their toys. This is the summary of where we stopped last week. Now, what are the highlights? I'm going to bring out 3 important things out of this personal hygiene. One is cutting of finger and toenails. At times, parents find it difficult to cut their children's nails for different reasons that I know. One of it is because it's very stressful. And we all know that for most children, not for all, but for most children. But we have to face the fact that it is stressful does not mean that we will not do it. We just have to look for time to do it. Now, it's not just for us to say we are not doing it. But what are the ways we can do it? If you have a suggestion on how you can cut your children's fingernails without stress, you can drop it in the chat. My own mothers is that You can cut the fingernails when the child is sleeping, because some hyperactive children will not allow you to cut their nails during the day. So hyperactive children, they play a lot. So at night, after sleeping for an hour, they sleep very deep. They sleep deep. So because they sleep deep, when you cut their nails, they won't wake up. You can do anything you want to do at that time. And also toenails, because you know at that age, they also even bite their toenails. Children that are crawling, they'll just pick any of the toe. They are even in fact, the underneath the leg, they can even start licking it. That's why you have to ensure that even the toenails too, you trim them properly. Please and please, a lot of children get a lot of infection from germs under their fingernails. Most of the times we don't look inwards, and that is why we keep wondering why a child is falling ill. It could be because of the germs, and because they like to put this hand in their mouth. When they put the hand in their mouth, they lick all the germs there, and we are not aware that this is where all these things are coming from. Please and please, mothers, as simple as it is very critical to cut the child's nails. Very simple, but very critical, and most of us don't remember to do that. The second one, critical one I want to bring our attention to is washing of hands, but I won't talk much on it again because we have talked on it last week and we have demonstrated it. But why I'm re-emphasizing it is because at times children like water, but at times we need to let them know why. You know, it really helps us parents if we let the children know why. If we see them, if you see all these children cartoons, they'll always tell them why. And that's why children like watching them. For our mothers, we don't remember tell our children why you want them to do what they are doing. Just say, go and wash your hands, go and wash your hands, go and wash, and they wonder why. You tell them, go and wash your hands, because look at your hands, filled with germs. You cannot see the germs. Germs are things that you cannot see. And you can see, you know, it's on your hands. You can even describe germs as monster, or maybe any cartoon your child knows is very scary, is not good. Okay, you can describe that. You know, that just the germs are just like that. So the child doesn't want monster to be on his hand, so he will quickly answer you and go and wash his hands. We can use different things to help children understand this concept. And when you are not there, I think that is even the most important. When they know that washing of hands is important, when you are not there, anybody with them, they will tell the person, I want to wash my hands. He said, I should always wash my hands. The third one I'm emphasizing is brushing of teeth twice a day. I don't need to explain that too much. We all know the reasons why we need to do that. It doesn't mean that you have to put toothpaste in the morning and put toothpaste in the evening. The evening, you may not put toothpaste to avoid the child taking in too much chemicals. You can just use brush and water. Please, you can just use brush and water for the evening brushing to remove the essence, to remove all the remnants in the teeth, in between the teeth, so that it doesn't grow microbes before the following day. I hope you understand that. All right. So the reason we are doing that is to ensure that there are no microbes that will stay with the child till the following day. All right. Remember, I said we should allow the children to know why they are doing what they are doing. It helps us to, it serves as a form of cooperation with you and your child. Now, the next thing after personal hygiene is safety. Safety of a child is still under health. Health and safety, they work hand in hand. Last week, we talked about signposts, that we should allow our children to understand signposts. It helps them. Signposts could be as simple as colors. It doesn't have to mean that you will put do not touch, because someone might tell me my child cannot read. How will you know signpost? No. When I mean signpost, it could be just colors. Like, okay? You can let your child know that red means danger. If your child knows that red means danger, anytime it sees red, he or she sees red, it's already at alarm that okay, danger. Do we understand now? Okay. The child already sees that danger is coming, and so the child understands what red means. You can teach your child to know that green means peace. Anytime you see green, know that the person is peace or plenty or whatever. Yellow, these colors mean different things, and if children understand, it helps them. That's what I mean by signpost, depending on the age of the child. The second safety tip is watch kiddie safety cartoons. You know, at times your child might not really listen to you to maybe to sit the child down and start saying, don't, this one is not good, this one is not good. You can use cartoons for children that like to run around, they don't like to sit down to listen. You can even play the cartoon on your phone, make sure it's loud enough. Then your child comes there, you form busy, as if you are busy, you are not interested. But you want that child to watch that cartoon on safety. You know, safety cartoon might start with a noise, then to attract the attention of your child, and the child will watch it. When the child sees it, they understand better than when you tell them socket. No, there's a particular cartoon on safety like that. It says socket, no, iron, no. You know, so the child knows that okay, iron, I'm not supposed to touch iron, I'm not supposed to touch socket. But if you are the one saying it, they might not get it. But from that cartoon, the child, there's a way they did that the child understands it very well. So play touch safety cartoon for them. Those things for your children. A story was told of a story was told of a woman who did not allow the toddler to ever see iron, because she knows the iron is dangerous and she doesn't want the child to go and touch it. So the child has never seen iron before in his entire life. So one day, the child went to the neighbor's place or whoever to stay there. And lo and behold, he saw iron. I was like, wow, what is this? It's even red. It has the red light and all. So the child was attracted to the redness or the red color of the iron. So the child went and touched. In fact, the story did not end well. So instead of some things that you know your child might still come across, you can train your child instead of saying don't see it at all, don't even know it. Your child might go out, except if you are with your child forever. Your child might go out and see it somewhere else, and there's nobody to explain it to your child. Personally, what I did for my own son is when I saw that he's very active and he can see iron somewhere and pick it up, I showed him iron and I on it when it was red. I made him to feel it a little to see the redness of it and to understand what, because I don't know what is the meaning of hot. What is hot? Is hot, is hot. I tell them it's hot, it's hot. They don't understand what it is, and they might go and experience it when you are not there. Another story was told of another child. She thought this time around. It's not even a story, it happened. I know the person. The child put his hand inside kettle of water that was boiling. He saw smoke coming out and he did not understand. The child has never learned it. So he put his hand inside and doesn't know that when something is hot, you put your hand out. So please, let the children watch cartoons. Let them see all these things that when something is hot, the babies now, yes, when something is bringing out smoke, you don't go there. When something is red, fire, you don't go there, you run away. Little by little, they would understand it. Also, you can let them learn safety skills. If you know your child is very inquisitive and can get somewhere and see water and jump into it and say, I want to swim, you better start teaching that child swimming. Okay, so that can go a long way to help. Let's help the children by teaching them some things. It's not everything you say don't see. And when you now see it when you are not there, it becomes a problem. Fire extinguisher. Fire extinguisher is very important for us to have. You know, most of us, we have fire extinguishers in our cars. Why do we have it in our cars? Because somebody might stop us and ask a fire extinguisher. Or you get to a place, you say, oh, you people have fire extinguisher here. Please, and it has to have fire extinguisher before I can stay there. But where you are staying at home, you don't have a fire extinguisher. So what are we going to say about that? That is not good enough. So it's good for us to have fire extinguishers at home. We are not praying that there should be fire outbreak, God forbid. It could be that you will use it to help somebody later, but just have it. Have it as if maybe somebody is going to check your house for fire extinguisher as they check in the car. First aid box. First aid box is also something very important that you should have in your home. Okay, it might not be a box and all that, but the items in those first aid box that you know are very vital for you and your children should be in place in the house. We'll talk more on that. And finally, get a trained nanny if you must. We said that last week, so I will not buttress too much on that. If you must get a nanny, train your nanny. If you must get a nanny, nanny must be trained. Okay, we also organize training for nannies too. Something similar to this training is just that it has some other features. It has some other features. So if you're interested, if you have a nanny, you want the nanny to be trained, you can contact us for that. Personal hygiene and safety, fire extinguisher, first aid box. What are they? This is a fire extinguisher, or these are fire extinguishers. These are fire extinguishers. You can see one is already labeled. You have the handle there, the stainless steel handle. You have the hose, and then you have the body of the fire extinguisher and the pressure gauge. And there's something that looks like a pin. You see a pin there. So these are the features of the fire extinguisher. You should have one of these in your house. Please and please, you can help someone with it. When do you fight fire? You don't say because you have fire extinguisher in your house, you are a firefighter. You are not trained to fight fire. Okay, or maybe you have attended firefighting training, good for you. But if you have not attended firefighting training, you don't have to say or want to do what you don't know how to do. We are only talking about small fire. Maybe as the fire is just starting, you can use your fire extinguisher at home to curtail it. You are safe from toxic smoke. If there's already smoke everywhere, you don't say, where is fire extinguisher? When the smoke has filled the whole place, God forbid, there is no time to start looking for fire extinguisher then. You have a means of escape. You should ensure that there is a means of escape for you before you say you want to fight fire. All your children, everybody should be safe, should have a place where they can escape, and they should even start escaping. So we have to also be very careful, even with fire extinguisher. It's only when the fire is just starting, maybe in the kitchen, there's a spark or something and it's becoming uncontrollable, then we can go and pick the fire extinguisher at the initial stage. What is the step in operating a fire extinguisher? You pull the pin. You pull the pin. There is a pin there at the top corner of the fire extinguisher. Once you pull the pin, then you have opened the fire extinguisher. The fire extinguisher is already open. And once you open it like that, you can't reuse it for most of the fire extinguishers. Then you place the nozzle, that's the hole, the hose. You place it at the base of the fire, not up, down, at the base where the roots of the fire, where the fire is coming from. When you have pointed the hose at the base, then you squeeze the handle. The handle, you see it, you squeeze and release the chemical content, and then you turn it side by side to ensure you target the whole base of the fire, and then the fire goes out. Please and please, it's very important, mothers, that we invest in this and have it handy. The fire extinguisher can also expire, okay? So not that you go and buy another one, you call the fire service people. They are everywhere. You can get their number online. they can help you to gauge it. They will compress it and make it fit for use again. First aid. First aid is the first help that you give to your child, okay, before your child gets to the hospital if there's an emergency. So every mother should be trained as a first aider. As I said, you should know a little about everything. You are not a nurse, but at least you can help your child. It's small cut. You will not start running out of skelter, start shouting. You should be able to handle it. So first aid is the first help. I will not say treatment now. First help that you give to your child. And to render first aid, you need a first aid box which will contain, the first aid box is going to contain the things that you will need to render that help. So as you can see, even though you don't have the box, you should have this content available. You should have this content available. So we are going to quickly look at first aid now, and then what and what we need to do when we are talking about first aid. Okay, so I want to play a video for us. I hope we will be fine today. Okay. Okay, this is the first video on first aid. There's a slight problem with the volume, so I'm going to okay, that's a picture of a first aid box. So that is plaster, sterile gauze, bandage, and so our scissors there. That's the plaster. Vaseline. Rub. ORS. GB ointment. Paracetamol, cotton wool. Okay, gloves. Okay, someone has shown us the content of a first aid box. You can see it live there, all the things that are there. Okay, let's see another one.
There's a good chance you keep your fridge stocked. But what about your first aid kit? Medical professionals say having the right supplies on hand is essential. And who better to show us those supplies than an ER doctor? So I'm here to talk to Dr. Ortega to find out what I need to be ready for anything. something unexpected happens, you want to have certain things available so that you can do something about it right away. What kind of emergencies might this come in handy for? Well, like little cuts, scrapes, things that might happen around the house. Is there anywhere in particular where you should be keeping this stuff so that it's easily accessible? Well, the first thing I recommend is to keep everything together so that you don't have to be hunting for it when that emergency comes along. If you are including medications with your first aid equipment, you want to make sure it's definitely not accessible to young children. So why don't you take me through what we've got here and what you should have handy? Absolutely. So the first things will be things that are going to help you put pressure and stop bleeding. From the very basic bandages, it's nice to get ones that are different sizes. In addition to that, you want to have some sterile gauze available. Sometimes you need something to secure the gauze, some kind of adhesive that is safe for the skin. It's really handy to just have a pair of scissors right along with your first aid equipment, and that way you have a gauze that's way too big for what you need, cut it to size. And a thermometer is good to have in there, especially if you have children in the house. One of the first questions that the doctor's going to ask you to call in for the child having a fever. And I always remind people to have their personal safety in mind as well. So you want to have gloves on hand. Now, how often should we be replacing these kinds of kits? Do Band-Aids go bad? So there are some Band-Aids that have medicated components. So they come with like an antibiotic ointment inside and things like that. Those would have an expiration date. The gauze, the plain Band-Aids, the regular wraps, those things don't in general expire. Are there other things that you should have on hand other than these supplies? For every person in your family, you should keep a list along with your supplies of any important medical information for that person. That's a good idea. Well, now I feel like I'm all set for any emergency I might run into at home. But what about when I hit the road? What about my car? What do I need for that? That's a good point. Let's go check it out. So now we've got everything stocked in case of a roadside emergency. So how is the first aid kit in your car different than one you might have in your home? Sure. Well, in your car, you have to be ready for an emergency that might take place while you're driving, while you're on the road, and you have to be mindful of weather-related emergencies as well. Of course. So what kinds of things might you have in there? Yeah, so one of the things that I always recommend is a couple of bottles of water. Good idea to have. You can use them for hydration, obviously, especially if it's warm outside, or you can use it to clean a wound. Okay, granola bar? You never know how long you're potentially going to be stuck by the roadside, and you may need some sustenance. So we've got a notepad in here. So that would be helpful in case you need to make a phone call emergency services or a family member or a doctor. So you can take notes and have, whatever information you need to jot down. And then there's also just the things that you would have in any first aid kit. You want that in your car as well, correct? Absolutely. With the exception of any medication. I wouldn't keep medication in the car because of the extremes of weather. Well, Dr. Ortega, thank you so much for all the tips today. I think everything you shared with us can help us be ready to drive safely.
Okay, so that is the video. We saw all the things that are explained there.
Like that,
the items
those
that
would have
we
an
need to
expiration
have.
date. The gauze, the plain Band-Aids, the regular wraps, those things don't in general expire. Are there other things that you should have on hand other than these supplies? For every person in your family, you should keep a list along with your supplies of any important medical information for that person. That's a good idea. Well, now I feel like...
Okay, so we want to move on now. We have heard from the nurse that it is very important for us to have our first aid box. And we have looked at the things there, the things that we can get in a first aid box. So let's look at the content of the first aid box one after the other. We need to have a digital thermometer. That is very important, especially when you have a baby. As she said, you can call a doctor and the doctor will tell you what is the temperature of your child and you say you don't know. Then some children run temperature, some don't. I hope you cannot hear me. Some don't run temperature like that when you touch them. And at times you can touch them, the temperature is not stable. But with the aid of a thermometer, you can be rest assured of the figure that you have. Then if you are calling a medical personnel, you can be able to tell the person the temperature of the child and he or she can advise you. Paracetamol, we all know why we should have paracetamol handy at home. ORS. ORS is the one you give to the child. The solution you make is in a powder form. You dissolve it in water based on the description that will be written on it. When a child is stooling, it is not the cure for stooling, please, but it is to rehydrate the child. The ORS is not going to cure it. It is just a first aid to ensure the child is not dehydrated before the child gets to the hospital or before the child takes the appropriate medication. Because at times, some mothers might think ORS, they are taking ORS. No, ORS is not the medication. It is just a first aid to keep the child up and for the child to have strength. You know, we all know what we use rub for. Okay, whenever there is want to suppress any particular swelling or something. Then methylated spirit should also be there. GV, it helps the scratch a little wound to dry quickly. Cotton wool, plaster. There should always be plaster at any time you can need it. You just take it from wherever and use it. You can even buy the one that has medication so that the wound can heal fast. Sterile gas dressing. So it's not every time we need that, but it's part of the first aid box. Bandage. Next week, we are going to be looking at what we can use some of these things for and how to use them. Bandage. Then we have sticky tape. The ones that are written on the other side are not really so important, but if you have them, it's good. Tweezers. Tweezer is something that you can use to hold your cotton wool. Don't want to touch it with your hand. Don't want to touch the blood with your hand. Then you use your tweezer to hold the cotton wool. You know what I'm talking about? Now, you use it to hold something. Disposable gloves, scissors, safety pins, and wipes, something that you can use to clean a surface when you are done. Okay, so it is very important for us to have a first aid box, as we said, so that we will not be running helter-skelter. And you know, it's very embarrassing when you are going to borrow paracetamol from someone else or go to somebody else's house, knocking at night, asking for paracetamol. Always check that it's available and it is handy in case we need it at any point in time. It is important to have a well-stocked first aid kit in your home to deal with minor accidents and injuries. It should be locked and kept in a cool, dry place, out of sight and reach of children. Please, you know, it is common to say out of sight, but I am the one adding out of reach. It could be out of sight. It should be out of sight and out of reach. The child should not be able to reach it at any particular point in time. Or maybe if the child stretches, the child will be able to see it, shouldn't be able to touch it. I don't recommend cough medicine, Piriton, and ibuprofen to just be kept, especially when you are not at home or when you are not there. You don't want someone to give your child cough medicine for the child to sleep. Please, Piriton, and not even someone, even some mothers do that out of frustration. They are tired and they say, you this boy that have been playing since, we come and take Piriton. Please, it is drug abuse. Ibuprofen, small headache. Don't cultivate the habit of giving the children ibuprofen when it's just a slight headache. When they recommend ibuprofen is when the child's temperature is very high and they need to bring it down immediately. It's not that a child just has a minor injury and you are giving the child ibuprofen. When the child is not even running temperature, the child is not weak. Don't give your child Piriton to sleep, please. Piriton has its own purpose. It's not a sleeping tablet, even though it has something in it that makes people sleep. But it's so that the drug can be effective. That's why it has that particular substance. It's not for us to be giving children to sleep. Too much of everything is bad, including sleep. Too much of everything is bad, including, if you won't believe it, water. Food can be too much. Water can be too much. How much more drugs? How much, even sleep. If your child sleeps too much, it can affect the child's brain. So please don't allow children, and don't leave your cough medicine or piritin with a nanny or with any girl. And if your house help tells you that the cough syrup poured, don't just believe or piritin poured away. Why didn't the paracetamol pour away? Find out why your cough syrup is always pouring away. Mothers, let's be cautious. Let us be careful. Let's take extra care in attending to our children and in keeping their medication. If you know you are not always around, you cannot keep it, don't have it at home. Cough medicine is not an emergency. It's not a first aid. If your child is coughing in the morning, you can still afford to buy the cough medicine before evening. Or you can take the child to the hospital. So there is no need for keeping it and using it when it's not necessary. Check expiry dates regularly. As it was said in that video, we need to check expiry date to ensure that the drugs that the children are using, they are not expired drugs. Expired drugs will not work. Note the drugs that you should be refrigerated, when open or prepared, like antibiotics. When you prepare such drugs, you should refrigerate them immediately. Some people say they don't know. They just buy drugs. They tell them dilute, add water, do this, and you just leave the drug like that. You have to put that drug inside the fridge, not freezer, in a cool place, so that the drug will not be spoiled. Because if the drug is not in a cool place, microbes can act on it, and then it will cause more problems instead of curing the disease. Don't give drugs not prescribed by the doctor for prevention, like anti-malaria. You are traveling. Some people will just give their children anti-malaria drugs, say they want to prevent it. Too much drugs in the body is not good, and your body can also build resistance to some drugs. So use drugs only when necessary for your child. Please and please. These drugs too have side effects. And when you just give the child when the child does not need it comes with side effects. Why don't you allow the child to have the malaria and you quickly immediately treat it? Instead of just giving the child, every 2 months I give anti-malaria, every 1 month. There is no cost for that. Your child is healthy, no malaria, please, no drugs. Thank you. Now we are moving on to children's medication. We need this background knowledge. We need to know some things about children's medication. Very important. Microorganisms cause disease. We need to know that. So when we are giving children medication, it is that microorganism we are attacking, not necessarily the symptoms of the disease. These microorganisms or microbes can develop resistant strains in the body. They can develop resistant strains. That means they can be resistant to the drug you want to give them or you are giving them, or you have given them before. Why effective drugs may not be effective in your body? We need to know this. Why is it that effective drugs, somebody use drugs is effective, or it's generally known as effective, but it is not effective, it's not working. Let me use that word. It's not working in your child's body. What could be the reason why the drugs are not working? Why effective drugs may not be effective? Now, before I go on to that, it is important for us to know that microbes develop resistant strains, and therefore, if we don't use drugs properly for these children, the organisms can develop resistant strains. That means later the drug will not work again, because that organism is already used to that drug. You give that drug every time, even when it's not necessary. So the organism has adjusted itself to that drug because you gave underdose. You said you just want to prevent. You are giving underdose. You are giving underdose. You don't know you are developing resistance. Or you are not giving underdose. The child is vomiting the drug, or you are missing doses. This can lead to resistance strain. Not following dosage correctly can be a problem for the child. You need to follow the dosage correctly. When the drug is expired, it's another problem. It will not work in the child's body. And you kept on wondering why the drug is not working. Did you check the expiry date of that drug? Even if you collect a drug from the hospital, you need to still check up as a mother, do due diligence. How much more if you bought it somewhere else? Then after buying the drug, you have checked the expiry date, you need to follow the dose. That I said, some antibiotics can have, might not work again if you don't use it. You are supposed to use it 5 times. I mean, in 5 days or 7 days. You use it for 3 days. You say your baby is okay now. Maybe after 3 days, you are seeing the symptoms that the baby is okay. And so, because your baby is okay, you refuse to continue the dose. Please, mothers, let's not do that. You know, because you are not a biochemist or you did not study drugs, you may not know, but just know this little thing. You don't need to be a biochemist. But just know that when you don't complete the dose, you are building, the organism is building resistance. If a drug is supposed to be used for 5 days, use it for 5 days. Your child might recover after 3 days. It shows that the drug is working, but complete it so that the organism will die and will not just be inactive. And you think the organism has died or it's just dying and you stop. You know, the organism is just that it's almost dead and you stop the drug. Let me use the literal word like that. It's almost dead and you say, my baby is okay, and you stop it and it wakes up later. And the waking up later might not be immediately, it might be a month later or 2 months later. Then you say, hey, the drug is not working. Or why is the child having infection again? It's not because the child was exposed again. No, it's because that drug has not completed its work and the organism rose up again to fight. So please, after 3 days, 4 days, the child will be better. Complete the dose if it's 7 days. If it's 2 times, use it 2 times. If it's 3 times, use it 3 times. If it's 6 hours, use it 6 hours. If the child is vomiting, you can even go to the doctor, go back to the doctor and say, please, this child is vomiting. After the first day, I want injection. If there is injection, so that you'll be sure and you'll be on the safe side. You are a working mother. After you've taken permission from work, you don't want to go back that next month and say your child is having, and you are thinking it's another infection. No, it's because you did not complete that dose. You didn't use it very well. I am emphasizing this because most of us are not aware of it, and that is what is causing this infection coming over and over again. Or you give the drug to somebody to help you administer. I'm going to stay long on this because this is very critical. You give it to someone to administer, the person is not administering it, or the child is vomiting the drug. Please make sure, vomiting, you cannot control it. If you can use the injection, better. Or you look for a way to ensure that child is vomiting the drug. You can maybe wait for the child after eating, wait for a while when the food has gone down properly. Maybe when he's taking food or water, look for what will not prompt the vomiting. Because if the child is vomiting the drug, you don't know whether to administer. You have to go and read the directions to the next dose. And these are the things that causes resistant strains. Because you have to wait for the next dose. That's what they will tell you. Wait till the next dose because they are not sure of the content that the child has absorbed. They don't want the child to take too much of it. Okay, the next thing is drug-drug interaction. I don't know if you have heard of drug-drug interaction. We also have food-drug interaction and lifestyle. What is drug-drug interaction? Drug-drug interaction is when a particular drug that you are using is interfering with another drug that you are or your child is using. For instance, anti-malaria drugs with vitamin C. Before, when you go to the hospital, they don't tell us that we should not use vitamin C with some anti-malaria drugs. They just give us everything, anti-malaria, vitamin C, multivitamin, and they discover that this slows down the work of the anti-malaria drug. So you have to use the anti-malaria drug first. When you are done with that stage, then you can give the child multivitamin. But if you are giving the child multivitamin together, Most anti-malaria drugs, it will make them to be inactive. So you just that the drug is not working, your child is taking the drug. You know, there are multivitamins in vegetables too. So you have to also minimize or regulate the vegetables your child is taking at that time the child is on anti-malaria. Because these vitamins and minerals are also in vegetables and fruits. That takes me to food-drug interaction. You know food can interact with the drugs that your child is taking. Like antibiotics with dairy products. Dairy products, I mean milk, yogurt, and all that. They can make your drug not to work, especially antibiotics. So, okay, I'm going to tell us another thing that happened. You know, there was a story of a particular child that was very ill. And the child was infection, and the child kept going back to the hospital. They kept increasing the antibiotic of that child, the drug. They kept increasing and increasing, and this thing, you know, it has side effects. The mother will go back to the hospital, the drug is not working, they will increase the dose. The drug is not working, they will change to another stronger one. Then we discovered that the child is always taking too much of juice. The child will take like 2, 3 in a day of all these juice, regular juice that we buy for our children. They are not healthy, especially when they are taking drugs. It will make the antibiotic not to work. Now, after we told this woman that she should stop the juice, guess what happened? The child stopped stooling that day, not the next day. Hello? The child stopped stooling that evening, not day. Do you know what that means? That tells me that the drug that child was using was very strong, because, you know, drugs will take time to work, at least. But this one stopped immediately. It shows that they have been putting a lot of chemicals in the body of that child, and the doctor did not ask the mother, why are we increasing the dose and giving strong, and it's not working? Why? What are you doing, mother? What are you doing to this child? Ask, what is this child eating? Is it taking too much vegetables? Is it taking juice? Juice stopped and drug started working the same day. By the following day, the child stopped stooling. Stooling was part of the symptoms. There were other things, but that stooling was very obvious. So, mother, if you can avoid giving your child all these juice, you can always get the nutrients, the vitamins, whatever, from other sources, from natural sources. And when they are taking drugs, please don't give them. Take note of alcohol, calcium, vitamin K, vitamin C, juice, fruits, and vegetables when your child is taking medication. Don't give orange and anti-malaria at the same time. And you want the anti-malaria to work. Okay? So at that time, avoid orange and any other thing that you know is not going to be healthy for your child. If you have questions, you can drop it in the comments. Please, these are sensitive issues we need to address. They are important. Alcohol interferes, calcium interferes, not with all drugs. Please, let me say this. It's not all drugs that calcium interferes with. But I tell you, calcium is the major mineral. It does a lot of things. It always, you can find it in a lot of biochemical pathways. They play a lot of roles, all these vitamins. So, just the way we eat, we take drugs. Food too is like drugs. In fact, food is the most important drug for us. Food, because it's a chemical too that also interferes with pathways to ensure that we are healthy, just the way we use drugs. Drugs keep us healthy, but better when we get these vitamins from food. Okay, someone said I need more information on food-drug interaction. You can type what you need. But you know, because we are not dealing solely on food-drug interaction here, we can't spend the whole day. But just note the common drugs that we usually take: anti-malaria, antibiotics. Any product, no. Vitamin C, no. But some like is it flagyl now? You can actually use, you can take dairy products. But others, most others, and you know, it's not your own field, so you don't know which one. So the best thing is when the child is using the drug, avoid dairy products, avoid too much fruit and vegetables. If you have been taking fruits regularly before, limit it. Don't take, you want to increase it to boost the immune system at that time. No. When you finish the drug, when you finish the anti-malaria, you can start boosting the immune system. Okay, madam. If there's any other thing, you can drop it in the chat. If there's anything you want to know specifically, all right, or you can also read it off. So just the way drug interacts with drug, food also interacts with drug. Dairy products can interact with drugs, and food containing vitamins and minerals. Another thing I think a drug not to be effective is your lifestyle. Your lifestyle can also make a drug not to be effective. What do I mean by lifestyle? You like cold weather. You want the room to be very cold. And the child is suffering from a particular disease, I don't know, pneumonia or whatever it is. And you want the room to be very cold. Because of you have to consider your child first. You just have to consider the health of your own child. Very, very important. The place must not be too hot or too cold. If not, you'll be using drugs and the drugs will not work, and you'll be blaming the doctor, blaming everybody. Meanwhile, please, I told us last week that we should always blame ourselves. You know, when you start blaming yourself for everything, it will help you to be a better person. Okay, check. Blame yourself first. Why is this drug not working? Why is my child not improving? I hope I check the expiry date. I hope the weather is not. Because if you are exposing the child and you are using drug, it will not work. It's just like you are going for exercise. You are going to exercise and you are there exercising and you are still eating all the food. They say you should not, you don't eat red meat or reduce red meat, reduce this, reduce that. You did not reduce all of them. You are rather increasing it and you are doing exercise. You are now complaining to the man at the gym. Your exercise is not working. Your exercise is not working. And the gym man is saying, reduce or and this and that. I say, no, what does that have to do with? After all, I'm paying for this gym and I'm not seeing results. You cannot see results. Even though you pay for the medication, you can't go and tell the doctor you are paying. You did not see results because you did not do what you are supposed to do. The drug is to cure it. If you are doing something that is not making the drug to work, it will not work. Taking juice regularly is another lifestyle. Some people cannot do without giving their children juice. Every time, juice, 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 juice. And when you ask for it, they'll say, if I don't give her, she'll be crying. She'll be angry. Train them to live life without juice. They can do without it, especially now that they are at home. Why should you give your child juice at home? Maybe because, okay, they need to go to school, they need to do this, you give them. But now that they're at home, there's no reason to take it. Even going to school, you have to let them learn. It's not every time you go with it. It is a luxury, it's not a necessity. Some of the juice, you don't even trust the content. Some you give someone to buy for you, you don't even know what is inside. Some are contaminated. So as you're taking it, it's not making the drugs to work. Because the microorganism in the juice is even more than the one you want to cure. Taking of alcohol or other related substances can also prevent a drug from working. We have said that before. I'm just re-emphasizing because it's still under lifestyle. Taking alcohol or other substances will also not make the drug to work. Please and please, let's take note of all this. It's very, very important. The last thing we want to talk about for today is immunization. Very important. You know, at times we forget, but when we see all those women walking on the street saying they want to immunize, we remember. We say, I'm not giving my child immunization. Please, giving children immunization at the right time is our responsibility as mothers. and we need to do it. Not just do it, we need to do it well. We need to do our work well. So, breast milk is one of the first and the best and the greatest form of immunization. The best, the first, and the greatest. The breast milk contains all the vitamins and minerals in your body, and it also depends on how you are eating and how you are eating well. We know that, right? Okay, so the child gets access to all the minor and major minerals that are needed in the body. Then at birth, you take the child for immunization. That takes BCG, bacillus calmette growing, oral polio 1, and hepatitis B. At birth, you ensure they give your child this immunization. This is your duty as a mother. When the child is 6 weeks, oral polio, penta 1, rotavirus, pneumococcal conjugate. Penta 1 contains 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different kinds of immunity. Diphtheria, tetanus, whooping cough, hepatitis B, and so on. You don't know the meaning? Okay, so you take for the ignorance. It's important. It's not so important to know the meaning of all of that. At least we know whooping cough, tetanus, and all that. But at least you know that, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm not a nurse, I'm not a doctor, but my own part is to ensure my child is immunized against this disease. At times we ignore. It's not good to ignore. There was an incident of some children that had cholera in a particular school. And after checking up, they discovered that those that were affected were those that didn't take immunization, the cholera immunization. We should not take immunization for granted. After 6 weeks, we have 10 weeks, oral polio, the second dose, oral polio vaccine. 2, penta, the second. I told you penta has 5 vaccines. So you take the second dose, rotavirus and pneumococcal conjugate, different vaccines in there. At 14 weeks, the child will take oral polio, penta 3, that's the third dose. When I say penta 3, I mean the third dose of the penta. Penta has 5 vaccines, remember? Then IPV is a polio vaccine, so inactivated polio vaccine. Pneumococcal conjugate. At 6 months, vitamin A is every 6 months. So just know that, let it be there in your brain that every 6 months, I have to take my child for vitamin A immunization. So first month, vitamin A. The 9th month, measles and yellow fever vaccine. 12 to 15 months. By that time, that's another 6 months. From 6 months to 6 months, give you 12 years. 12 months, that's a year. You give each other another vitamin A. Pneumococcal conjugate again. Chickenpox. MMR. Measles, mumps, and rubella. Please, very important. Some children will have mumps and will be wondering, there's immunization for it. Why won't you give your child? Then it might transfer to your child. If you don't immunize your child, it might transfer. Why would you expose your child to mumps, for goodness sake? Please, mother, I'm begging us. Let's give these children this immunization. Find out if they're not doing it in the hospital where you gave birth to your child. Don't they didn't do it there. Look for another hospital. That's not the only hospital. Please. This mumps I was told is very, very dangerous. All of them. Okay. But this particular one, because it's contagious, one, like measles. Secondly, it can cause infertility for the child later. If the child has it once, twice, it can result to infertility for male children. You can read more on it. After 18 months again, that's 6 months, you give the child vitamin A, and then hepatitis A and B, and finally the polio vaccine, inactivated polio vaccine. 2 years, that's another 6 months, vitamin A, meningococcal, typhoid fever, hepatitis A and B. I think hepatitis A and B is the most common, so that is why the vaccines are No compulsory. We also have DPT. Right now, I think they give DPT to children lower than 5 years. So confirm from the hospital whether it's 3 or 2, we give DPT, diphtheria, pertussis, and tetanus. So tetanus how many times now? Then 5 years, IPV booster. But remember, every 60th month until the child is 5 years, every 60th month you go and check up. And if there's any other recent immunization, you also give your child. From 9 years, you give HPV, human papilloma virus. Right now, the current vaccination is up to 18 years. You're supposed to immunize your child up to 18 years. So find out. Don't say, what is all this about? Some children did not have cholera in that particular place. Why? The research showed that because those children were vaccinated, that was why they didn't get infection. So why would you just expose your child to this? Now that you are not married, you can start saving for this immunization. Yes, you save gradually. Or if you are married, yeah, you save for it. So when it's time, you'll be able to do what you need to do. Please, immunization is very important. Breastfeeding, as I said, is the first immunization. At times, parents, we forget to immunize, to take our children for immunization for whatever reason. Set reminder. Just when you set reminder for your activities at work, set reminder for your activities for your children. This is also a profession you signed for. Set reminder. Keep the, when the date is closed, keep the card in a place where you are going to see it, on your table or wherever you know it is safe that you see it, so that you will not forget. So these are the things we have discussed today. We are going to take questions very soon. We have discussed personal hygiene and safety. Personal hygiene and safety. We said the three things, the very important: washing of fingers, toenails, washing of hands, brushing of teeth. We looked at safety in the home, fire extinguisher, first aid box. We also looked at child medication. Now we understand that microorganisms are the ones that cause disease, and they are the microorganisms you want to kill. You don't want the microorganism to be resistant to the drug. You have to be careful about the lifestyle. You have to be careful about drug-drug interaction, about food-drug interaction. Ensure the drug is not expired. Ensure you give the right dose, and then you immunize your child. Please let us play our own part as mothers so that we get good rewards at the end of the day. Thank you and God bless. Any questions now? We'll take questions before we go.